Hello friends. Welcome to my new video. In this video you will listen 6th lesson into the wild. This lesson has 2 parts in it. Find new words and their pronunciations. If you find it useful, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.
Into the wild. Lost in the jungle. The 8.5-hour-long day inside the hide was as fruitful as the jamba trees standing tall on the edge of Umbazura. Before wrapping up my day at this natural waterhole, I took entries of the avifauna in my field notes. Since I was alone, I rushed to Pitazari village where I was stationed. I camouflaged the hide, took my essentials, came out of the hide and stretched out to my heart's content. I lifted my camera bag and took the familiar trail to Pitazari. Negotiating the webbed leaves of teakwood and moha trees, trying to make minimal sound, I was treading cautiously among the woods. Walking alone in a jungle needs more alertness than walking with a companion. I was alone here like a fox. Following the trail silently, watching with wide-open eyes, my ears were grasping a variety of sounds just when a familiar sound stunned me. Kayak. Kayak. Kyako SS Kayak. It was a langur alarm call. The leader of the gang of langurs was sitting on the tall tree making alarm calls. Out of fear for life. Rest of the langur brigade continued raising the alarm calls. The network of alarm calls was expanding its range as the petrified langurs speeded to the trees near and far and secured their places on treetops. All this upheaval was created by only one animal's presencia leopard. Many animals make alarm calls when they see a predator tiger or leopard nearby. The langur is most reliable when it comes to finding clues about the presence of the apex predators in the jungle. The mighty elusive leopard of Umbazura was out of its lair. He was on the prowl. The stealthily moving figure in spotted gold-black cloak was spied by these langurs. Even the small ones from the legion of langurs were giving alarm calls. Chayak. Chayak. I stayed put. Gauged the leader langur's target site and scanned the area visually. Took some steps. Stopped again. A fresh scat was lying before me on the trail. The bluish-purple flies were hovering over it. I was sure that the leopard was somewhere near. The distant alarm call of 4-horned antelope was adding to the chaos. I barely walked around 15 meters and stopped. I had apparently entered in the sanctum sanctorum of a miracle called leopard. But the big cat was not visible. It is an elusive animal. The surroundings were reminding me that I was all alone time and again. As I moved forward on the trail to Pitazari, the fading alarm calls were still heard in the background. I could tell instinctively that the leopard had moved away. Meanwhile, I saw a man standing at a distance with a stick in his hand. As I approached, he appeared spooked due to alarm calls of the leopard. We greeted each other. He was Raju, escaped from Pitazari. He had come to collect logs but retreated due to the leopard's movement. Raju was amazed at my regular solitary visits to Umbazura, the haven for tigers, leopards, and sloth bears. We stopped under a kusum tree to take a break. We both felt a bit relaxed. Now we were 4 eyes, 4 hands with a stick. Then we both resumed our walking tour. There was one tiny track that broke out of the main trail. I will take this route, you go straight, said Raju and turned right. I kept walking straight until I climbed a familiar hillock. I crossed the cement pillar and stones stacked by Forest Development Corporation to mark the boundary of the forest compartment. Took another trail. After climbing down, Walked across a beautiful mahua tree loaded with reddish-brown leaves. The ground under the tree was cleaned very well. The thought instantly flashed in my mind, I'd lost my way. Next moment, I found another dusky trail. The area was surrounded by hillocks of dry deciduous tropical forest. I turned back to spot the sun. Now, the geographical west was set. The dusky trail had vanished. Good heavens! I was lost. Completely lost in this jungle, that too at a very dreadful time. The sun was melting down like a fleeting runner. Soaked in my own sweat, I felt like shouting to my heart's content. But there was no other soul to listen to my sound in this wilderness. I had 2 bags with me.
The Shabname bag having the camera, and the other was a small colorful handmade bag used in villages to carry tiffin. The tiffin still had some stuff, but I didn't feel like having it. The blossoming boxwood trees, the boop-boop sound of cuckoo bird, the song of robin bird, all appeared alien to me. It was more than an hour, and I was still there searching for a suitable tree to climb and get secured. Turn back to the trail you left, my mind was telling me. But there were no signs of the trail. I had no other way to climb the hillock before me. There were more hillocks, and some more around the one I was standing. Near my feet were the dry dew droppings of sloth bear. The sloth bear of Umbazara must be out in open sniffing for food, I cautioned myself. Thinking of averting all sorts of eventuality, I made a move. I ran down the hillock that I had climbed up at a frantic speed. The west was to my right-hand side now. The evening breeze flew through my wet curled hair. My stomach was aching. I kept walking in hope. After around 50 steps I found a bright red soil trail. I found my silver lining on this trail. There were marks of bicycle wheel on this trail. That was a big consolation for me. There must be a village nearby, I reassured myself. More questions resurfaced. How far is the village? And where? In which direction? I climbed one more hillock and tried to locate signs of human civilization. My legs were trembling. As I reached the top of the hill, I jumped with joy. I heard the sounds of people talking in the loudspeaker. In a jiffy, I ran down the hill, towards the sound with full vigor. I stumbled and fell down. Saw droppings of blue bulls nearby. Struggled, stood up and decided which direction to move on. The signs of civilization were visible. The tiny sleepy village of Paitzeri was visible through the green woods. The lantern of Rajaram Balavi's farm, the loudspeaker installed for Keshav Balavi's marriage, all were in clear sight. Turned left to spot the village lake and familiar hillocks of Hudaki. The dog barked to welcome me to the village. The first thing I did was to take a bath. The shaking of limbs had lessened a bit. The stomachache started again. Ate to the full and then slumped onto the cot. Lying awake looking at the star-studded sky, I spoke to myself, there still exists a jungle where we can get lost, isn't this our good luck? Taken from Sakinagzira, by Karan Purander. Tracking the Panther of Naghol Shahizm is a wildlife photographer, cinematographer, big cat tracker, man-animal conflict resolution seeker and lodge-earner, all rolled into one. When he's away from the jungles of Naghol, officially called the Rajiv Gandhi National Park, he's leading photography safaris in Africa or showcasing his work at art galleries in capital cities and speaking to those interested in conserving the planet's riches. Shaiz recalls with great clarity the incident that ultimately leads to his answering the call of the felines over a career dedicated to finance. It was somewhere around sunset. We were at a junction. The deer were calling, he says. We went around a blind turn, he continues, and up ahead on the path was this old leopard. You could tell he was past his prime. The jungle had taken a toll on him. He only had 3 canines. His eyes were sagging. Close to this leopard was another very young, good-looking male who was soon to come into his prime. It was like looking at the past and the present. It was clear that there was going to be a fight. Unfortunately, the sun was setting, and we had to leave. But the next morning, I went back to the spot. Sitting on a high rock was that young leopard. Blood was dripping from a gash across his face. He sat there like he was king of the jungle. I knew right then that he had taken over, that it was the beginning of a new journey for him. And for me. Photographs of that leopard, the victor, Scarface, as Shais named him, not only made Shais famous among India's wildlife community, but also led to Shais's enviable reputation as a chronicler of the wild. Through my journey of photographing Scarface, I have discovered other leopards, his mates, and discovered his nemises, tigers. I also discovered the current protagonist of my work, Saya, while tracking Scarface. This is the world's first black panther, the behavior of which is being documented so intimately on camera, by tracking its movements. So far all the research on the animal has been done through camera traps. Through many months of toil, Shais has managed to collect precious footage, including that of the animal mating, to piece together the incredible landscape of a black panther's life. Saya, Scarface and Pardas, the leopard that lost to Scarface, have also led Shais down a different path of discovery. Learning about the manner lost to their habitat has led Shais to create the Buffer Conflict Resolution Trust of India. It's an agency that educates villagers who live on the fringe of the forest on the importance of conservation. We are in the heart of the man-animal conflict zone, explains Shais. There is no specific buffer zone here around the hole. The core area of the forest ends where the fields begin. In dry season elephant and wild boar incursions into fields are very common. Older leopards, like Pardas, who have lost territory in the forest often carry away livestock from villages. This creates resentment among locals towards the animals on occasions leading to unpleasant situations. Putting tourist currency to good use, under the Bhakti umbrella, Shais provides locals with vocational training, with the aim of educating locals on the merits of conservation and to help them benefit from tourist currency. The visitors at the resort are welcome to volunteer to teach a skills training class of their choice. The acquired skills enable locals to find employment with any of the numerous wildlife resorts in the region, if not in a faraway city. Maggie Gowder is one such local agriculturist who is trained at Bhakti and is now a certified naturalist employed by the bison. In the past, I've lost almost 80% of a season's yield of sugar cane to such animal attacks. I used to hate them. But now I've learnt how important these animals are and the value of protecting them, he says. I have known these jungles for 35 years. I know where the animals are and I realize I can guide visitors and get paid for it. In a way, the animals are paying me back. The forests have taught me many things. For instance, listening is a sense far more important than sight. You have to switch off your vehicle, sit and listen, for the forest is constantly communicating, through the voices of birds and animals, he explains. Tracking an animal also teaches you life lessons. The black panther has taught me patience. But, above all, it has taught me to never stop discovering. There are just so many amazing experiences to learn and share with the world. CNTRAVLER magazine published by Land Rover India.